Hey, what's up, Brew Crew? Opie here. Welcome back to my Brew City Garden in the middle of the night. Hey, you got that crazy neighbor that's always poking around in their garden in the middle of the night? Well, do me a favor, don't shoot, because it just might be the Brew City Gardener. You know what? That's right. I spend, of all the time I spend in my garden, I would say about 50% of that time I spend at night. And there's a few reasons for that, and a few good reasons for that. One, it just kind of works with my work schedule. I'm a full-time worker, a second shift worker. So I don't get home until around midnight every night. And of course, I want to check on my garden. Just like anybody else, when they come home from work, chances are they're going to go out and poke around in the garden and see what's going on. Well, it's the same for me. And it really works out well because there's a couple of other benefits of being in the garden in the middle of the night. One, in the heat of the summer, obviously it's much cooler at night. So I can come out here, I can spend more time. I don't have to worry about, the sun beating down on me and sweating my butt off. I don't have to worry about maybe putting sunblock on if I'm going to be out here for an extended period of time. So it's much nicer. It's a much cooler time of day to be out in the garden. And typically you'll notice that there's quite a bit less wind. So it's just much calmer. And it's actually really nice to be out here in the nighttime. It really is. But there's also a couple of other good benefits of being out in the garden in the middle of the night. Oh, my irrigation just kicked on in the tomato bucket system. I hope I don't get squirted in the back. But yeah, the irrigation's working great. And the tomatoes behind me are looking awesome. But as I was saying, there's a couple other good reasons to come out in the middle of the night. And I think the best reason that I can think of is all the creepy crawlies, they're out at night. So if you've got pest pressure, and you're trying to figure out why the hell all your plants are being eaten and there's holes in all the leaves. I guarantee if you go out at night, whatever those pests are, there's a very good chance you're going to see them. Okay. Cause that's when most of them come out. The insects and the pests, they don't really have to worry about, being hunted by birds, at night. There's very few animals out there, maybe possums, but very few animals hunt at night for insects. So it's much safer for the insects to be out doing their things and munching on your leaves. So it's a great time to go out and spot them and figure out what exactly it is that is causing problems in your garden. And of course, that's going to help narrow the solutions down for you as well. I've got a bad problem with caterpillars. And they're not the cabbage moth type caterpillars, the little green ones. They're actually fairly large. They almost look like army worms. And for the longest time, I couldn't find them. I couldn't see them. But when I come out at night with a flashlight and really start to hunt, all of a sudden they're everywhere. So, same way Japanese beetles, they're easy to spot at night. Earwigs. Typically, you will never see an earwig during the day, or at least I don't. But if you come out at night, they're really easy to spot because they're, a very distinct looking black bug on your plants. So, albeit creepy, at least I know what it is that's tearing that particular plant up. Also, just as a side note, if you bring a black light out into the garden at night, a lot of caterpillars and especially tomato hornworms, they glow under a black light. So if you've got hornworms that are just tearing your plants up, but you can't find them because, man, those things are super camouflaged. I mean, they're really difficult to see. If you use a black light at night, they actually glow. So that'll make your job 100 times easier finding those guys and getting them out of your garden. Because Lord knows the tomato hornworm can really wreak havoc. And it's, like I said, it's really nice. It's peaceful. It's quiet. I sometimes if you've got, at least I notice if I've got rabbits that are trying to make home in my bales, rabbits tend to be a little more active, especially around dusk and dawn, but I do see them out here at night, and they're moving around. So I seem to catch the rabbits after dark far more often than I catch them during the day, so I can see where they're hiding out. So it just makes it a little bit easier to figure out where those guys are at, and take steps to try to eradicate those as well. So really, it's just nice to come home from work and unwind in the garden where it's peaceful, it's quiet, it's cool. The plants at night, believe it or not, really are just big and full, and they look really nice. Versus sometimes during the heat of the day when your plants are looking kind of wilty and not so great, and you're really worried about them. If you go out at night, chances are your plants are going to look a lot nicer, believe it or not. They're going to look happy and full and bright and hydrated. So it's just a really different perspective on the garden. And I think it's really important to spend some dark time in the garden to just kind of see what everything is looking like, and pest pressure and all those things. There's just so many benefits. And for me, it's just a great thing to come out and unwind and just enjoy the garden in a different light. No pun. Now, one thing I definitely would recommend, and what I opened up the video with, was please don't shoot. You might want to talk to your neighbors, especially if they're not used to you being out at night, and just let them know, hey, if you see a creepy guy out in the backyard with his flashlight cruising through the tomato plants, don't worry, it's just me, because I could see where there would be cause for concern if I was not used to seeing people in my neighbor's yard and I saw flashlights flickering out there. That might be cause for me to maybe reach for a firearm. So make sure your neighbors are aware of your activities, or are at least used to your activities, just so there's no mishaps or no accidents or perhaps police involved. So that is one thing to keep in mind, and so just make sure your neighbors know what you're doing. But as far as that's concerned, once they're used to it, it really makes hiding the bodies so much easier. All right, guys. Hey, thanks for joining me here tonight in the Brew City Garden. And you know what? Spend a little bit of nighttime out in your garden. It really gives you a new look on the garden, and you might be surprised at what you discover, and it really might help your garden out in the long run. So definitely get some time out there after the sun goes down and get a new perspective on the garden. All right, guys, with that, I got some bugs to catch. I want you all to have a good night, sleep tight, and until next time, we'll see you.